Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I am taking you guys through this Osprey Kestrel 48. I got this bag about a year ago, put about 100 miles on it. I ended up switching to a new bag and I'll get into that a little bit, but I'm going to take you through some of the things I like, some of the things I don't like, and then just some of the other features. So first of all, this bag retails for $180 at the time of this video. I got it on sale and I also used my REI dividend, so I paid about $12 for it. So that was pretty cool. Let's see, it weighs, I've written down 3 pounds 9 ounces. I have the medium/large. There's also a smaller size which is a little lighter, but this is about 3.5 pounds. Some of the features of it, so flip it around here. It does have a mesh and suspension system, so kind of supposed to keep your back off the back of the pad. It's pretty comfortable. It doesn't really work for preventing my back from getting sweaty. My back gets sweaty anyway. It's also adjustable here, so you can adjust it to your torso height. It's got 2 side pockets here, which are large enough to fit Nalgene, and they also can open up from the top or from the front. It's a little easier to access your water bottle. I find it's hard to reach still, and it kind of pokes into my back when I wear it like that, but it's nice option to have. Up here, it's got a bladder, brain, I don't know what you call it, brain, and it's unclips here, but you can't take it off, so it's sewed on the back here. It's got a inner pocket, and then it's also got an outer pocket, so you can see that's that. The main compartment has this cinch, this draw cord. You pull this tab and it opens up. It has a red loop or strap, I guess, you can use to secure everything down, and it's really nice that it's bright red because you can see it in your bag. It's really easy to see. However, mine, the clip I think is upside down, but it never bothered me enough to change it around. So that's the main body. There's also a zipper right here where you can get into the body of the bag, which is pretty nice. But I'll close that back up. Over here I have my tent poles for my old tent, but if you take that out, there's another pocket here that's not connected to the main pocket. This is its own, so I put my rain jacket or something in there when I'm not using it. It's nice to have, but I didn't really always use it all the time. On the bottom of the bag, oh, there's an outer pocket here, so I have my camp shoes in there. Just gonna jam those down. You can see this has some stretchy stuff on the sides, but this part right here is not, so it can kind of be difficult to get stuff down in there depending on what it is. At the very bottom of the bag there is a compartment for a sleeping bag. I put my tent in there, that way when I get to camp the first thing I do is set up my tent, so I don't have to go digging through the bag. It's just right there. Pull that out and then put it back in the next day when I'm packing out. Nice beefy zippers. They all have these loops you can stick your finger through, which helps. There is a hydration sleeve behind the back panel, so you can kind of see where my arm is going, and it goes all the way down. So that's all the way down to there. Now you can kind of tell if I have a full hydration bladder in there, it's going to stick out, and I can actually feel that when it's full and it sticks out. It's not very comfortable. It's kind of a problem with a lot of backpacks. Hydration bladder sleeve, you have to take your stuff out of the bag to put the bladder back in place, and you got to put everything back into your bag. So you just usually use water bottles instead. But that is there. It's large. It can fit a pretty decent sized bladder. So it's got 2 hip belt pockets. They are pretty small, I'd say. They can fit an iPhone 10. I put my phone in there. but something that drives me crazy is that you can't zip them closed with one hand. If I'm wearing this bag and I have to close my zip pocket or my hip pocket, I have to grab it with this hand and close it with this hand, which is pretty frustrating. I'd rather just close it one-handed if I could. Alright, so that's most of the features of the bag. I'll go over some pros and cons that I've found when using it. So the first pro is that I'd say it's a 48 liter bag, which I'd say is a pretty good size for me, anything from an overnight to about 4 days. That's right around the range that I want to be at for the kind of trips that I go on. It's too small to do 10-day, anything crazy like that, but especially for an overnight, 2 nights, it's perfect size. Obviously that'll depend on some of the other gear that you have. So I've gotten my gear pretty dialed in now. You know, I have a down sleeping bag, so it's pretty small. My tent's pretty small, especially my new tent. So if you have bigger stuff, if you're newer to backpacking and you have, you know, a synthetic sleeping bag that's that big, obviously it's going to take up a lot more room in this bag than something like a down sleeping bag. So it just depends on what kind of stuff you have in your bag. I've often heard that the backpack is the last thing that you should buy because it's determined by what other stuff you have in your bag. So I would say the second thing I like about this bag is that it's pretty full featured. I mean, you can tell it's got a lot of pockets, a lot of compression straps. It's got the sleeping bag compartment, which is really nice. It's got kind of all the bells and whistles as far as backpacks go. It's got, you know, just about everything you could ask for, which is pretty nice. So another thing I like about this bag is that it's really durable. This is all, I think, ripstop nylon or pretty hefty fabric. Especially the outside, this here, the bottom seems to be really durable. The only thing that's not is these pockets, but I haven't really had any issues with them. They haven't even stretched out at all, which is pretty nice. So I'm sure this bag would last years and years if you took care of it, didn't throw it around too much. So another feature of this pack that I'm really a fan of is this back suspension system, this whole mesh deal. Osprey's known for their suspension systems, and this is no exception. It's super comfortable, with the exception of the water bladder that I mentioned earlier. If you've ever had an Osprey bag, or if you haven't, if you go into the REI, you can try them out and you'll tell right away. They're pretty comfortable bags, and this one is no exception. It's not as comfortable, I'd say, as the Atmos, which is the larger bag, but it's pretty close. I would say the last thing that I really like about this bag is, you can tell here, you might not be able to tell, but there's actually a pocket here for a rain fly or a rain cover that's included. So you can see it came with that, and not have to buy it separately. It was included with the base price, which is pretty nice. Not all bags, for whatever reason, come with rain flies. So it's not an extra, $30-40 you'll have to spend. And it's got its own pocket too. So when that's wet, you can put it in here. It's got a little weep hole at the bottom, so it'll drain by itself without getting the rest of your bag wet. So that's a pretty good feature. Okay, so that's what I like about the bag. Now I'm going to talk about some of the things I don't like as much. The first thing being that there are way too many straps and buckles and loops. I mean, they're all over the place. It's kind of a very busy bag. There's a lot going on. So for instance, here you have a compression strap here, you have a compression strap here, you have a compression strap here, you have these loops, which I've never used, and then you have this strap down here that I guess would be for a sleeping pad or something, but I've never used it, so these end up kind of dangling down below my legs, and I can feel them occasionally just bumping into me, and you can tell they hang pretty low, so they're way down there. So I don't like that about it. And there's just a lot going on. It can kind of be confusing when you're trying to get into your bag and you're in a rush. You think you unclip this strap, and then you undo this one, and then you got to redo it, and there's just a lot going on. So another thing I don't like about this bag, I mentioned the side pockets, how you can go in the front or the top, but I will say that they are pretty deep. So I mean, it goes all the way down to the bottom of the bag, which is good for something like my trekking poles, but at the same time, usually when my bag is loaded, there's something in here that I can't push this down all the way without just absolutely jamming on it. But the fact that they're kind of elastic, you know, you can tell that's got a lot of room in there, because I don't think I have it pushed down all the way. It's great that it's so deep, but I can never really get it all the way down there, so you know, I kind of lose a lot of that depth. It's kind of frustrating, but not a huge deal. Another thing that is more frustrating than that, though, is that these pockets, with them being so deep, they come up really high, and it's difficult to reach around and grab your water bottle one-handed. You kind of have to take the bag off, get the water bottle, and then put the bag back on. So that's a common problem with backpacks. I don't know what the solution is without, you know, having like a shoulder strap for your water bottle, or obviously hydration bladder is another option. But so another con for this bag that I'd say, I already mentioned it, but the hydration bladder issue, where, you know, when you have a full bladder, it sticks out, you know, 2 or 3 inches, and you can feel it. It's pretty uncomfortable. With it not being in the main body of the pack, with it having its own pocket, unless you have a really small hydration bladder, you're probably going to be able to feel it when you put the bag on. You're going to notice the difference when it's there versus when it's not. It never got to the point where, you know, it was giving me aches and pains, but it was just a little uncomfortable. And the last thing about this bag that I don't like, and it's a big one, and it has driven me crazy on multiple trips, this brain up here is too big, so when you have things in there and it's not full, they move around and they make a lot of noise. One bad thing is that there's something in my pack that's been bouncing around with every big step. So I'm gonna probably set my bag down, see what that is, maybe throw it into the lake. It's making a lot of noise. I've had my toilet paper, my trowel, my first aid kit, you know, bags of trail mix, my camera tripod, all in here, and they were still moving around and just making noise with every step, and it just drives me absolutely crazy. I just wish it was a little smaller. It's nice that it's so big, but I just wish it was a little smaller. That way I wouldn't have to put so much stuff in there to make it so things didn't move around and make noise when I'm hiking. It is a great bag. I really like it. I really enjoy it. I know it sounds like I have a lot of issues with it. The reason I'm switching away from it is that I find that it's got too many pockets, so I end up putting things in there that I don't need to bring. I'm overpacking to fill space, which I don't like. So with all the straps and everything, and you know, all the extra pockets, they're nice features to have, but I find myself not really needing them. So the bag is kind of overkill, both weight and features for me. It's got more than I need, so that's the reason I'm going to be getting rid of it. Anyway, that's my full review. It's a great bag. I'd recommend it for probably more beginner backpackers who want a full featured bag, that aren't super concerned about weight. And obviously, like I said, it depends on what kind of gear you're bringing along with you, but 48 liters is a pretty good size for a lot of people starting out doing 1, 2, 3 night trips. This will do you just fine. It's a great bag, it's just not for me. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Feel free to leave any questions in the comments. I'll see you in the next one.